Hello everyone, welcome back to News of Asha. Today is 16th of August 2023. Let's see what's happening in the world today. Afghan women escape for a chance at education. Since the Taliban took control of Afghanistan 2 years ago, in August 2021, life has drastically changed for women in the country. They lost their right to be educated past the age of 12, their right to wear what they want or travel alone for more than 72 kilometers. Many women was offered a way out, an education through programs organized by the Asian University for Women, AUW. As soon as the Taliban came to power, the AUW began receiving calls for help from their female students. Its founder, Kamal Ahmad, said he knew he had to get them out. As Western forces left the country, they managed to evacuate a group of 148 women from Kabul as AUW students spread the word. 7 coaches made the dangerous journey to the city's airports a total of 3 times. Since then, AUW has offered scholarships and organized the evacuation of hundreds more women out of Afghanistan, 450 so far. These students have been sent to AUW's own university in Bangladesh or partner colleges such as Brown University in the US and Oxford and Manchester in the UK. AUW hopes to help more women. The goal is at least 1,000 to continue their education by offering scholarships and a safe exit from Afghanistan. I wish for the women of Afghanistan to be free because I know they are trying so hard. I hope one day they all can continue their dreams, Nina says. Each woman that has escaped Afghanistan have something in common. They will never forget the woman they left behind. This is a sad situation that's happening in Afghanistan. Hopefully the UN and many other institutions and agencies can help these women in Afghanistan and also make dialogue with the Taliban in order to help these women actually have much more freedoms and a better life. Death toll from Myanmar jade mine landslide hits at least 31. Yangon. The death toll from a landslide at an unregulated jade mine in a remote part of Myanmar has hit at least 31, with 8 people still missing, rescuers said on Wednesday. Jade mining in Myanmar is lucrative due to high demand from neighboring China, but the unregulated industry is plagued with frequent worker deaths. We found 6 more dead bodies this morning, a rescue worker told AFP, speaking on condition of anonymity. They added that 8 people remain unaccounted for, with the search continuing. Myanmar is the world's biggest source of jade, and in 2020 nearly 300 people lost their lives in a massive landslide in Pakant mine. Jade and other abundant natural resources in Myanmar's north, including timber, gold and amber, have helped finance both sides of a decade-long civil war between ethnic Kachins, insurgents and the military. More than 3,900 civilians have been killed since the coup, according to a local monitoring group. While environmentalists and rights groups have long called for reforms, a 2021 military coup effectively ended hopes for better standards in the industry, according to international watchdog. Exclusive: Vietnamese exporters renegotiate higher prices for rice after Indian ban. Traders. Singapore. Vietnamese exporters have renegotiated higher price for around 500,000 metric tons of rice, 2 trade sources says, as global prices climbed to 15-year highs following India's ban on overseas sales last month. This is the first confirmation of rice prices climbing in the wake of India's surprise ban, with importers paying more for one of the world's most widely consumed staples amid tightening supplies. Buyers have agreed to pay higher price for some of the cargoes which they bought for August shipment, said one trader at an international trading company. He added that around 200,000 tons of rice have been shipped this month, while 300,000 tons is yet to be loaded at Vietnamese ports. Global rice prices have jumped by around 20% to 15 years highs since India, which accounts for 40% of world supplies, banned non-basmati white rice exports last month. India's decision has reduced 10 million tons or 20% of the supplies from the international market. This does not seem like it's going to be ending anytime soon, so it would be wise for people to stock up on their necessary supplies if they have the means and are capable of doing so. Please like, share and subscribe. It really helps the channel out. Thank you. China's fertility rate drops to record low, 1.09 in 2022, state media. Hong Kong. China's fertility rate is estimated to have dropped to a record low of 1.09 in 2022, the National Business Daily said on Tuesday, a figure likely to rattle authorities as they try to boost the country's declining numbers of new births. The state-backed daily said the figure from China's Population and Development Research Center put it as having the lowest fertility level among countries with a population of more than 100 million. China's fertility rate is already one of the lowest alongside South Korea, Taiwan, Hong Kong and Singapore. Concerned about China's first population drop in 6 decades and its rapid aging population, Beijing is urgently trying an array of measures to lift the birth rate, including financial incentives and improve childcare facilities. Being an authoritarian regime, I won't be surprised if they start forcing women to have children. China has said it will focus on education, science and technology to improve population quality and strive to maintain a moderate fertility level to support economic growth in the future. Hong Kong's Family Planning Association said in a separate release on Tuesday that the number of childless women in the Special Chinese Administrative Region more than doubled from 5 years ago to 43.2% last year. The percentage of couples with 1 or 2 children also tumbled, while the average number of children per woman dropped from 1.3 in 2007 to a record low of 0.9 last year, according to its survey. I personally don't think that China will be able to dig itself out of this problem, the reason being wanting to have children is a very personal matter, and if women no longer wish to have children due to economic or living conditions, then until you change the economic prospects or change the living conditions, having more child care or child services or any form of rhetoric that is going to come out from any government around the world is not going to change a woman's mind as easily. Military airlifts provide escape as wildfires sweeps Canada's far north. Montreal, Jordan's envoy escaped from wildfires raging in Canada's far north was the scariest moment of his life as flare-ups closed roads, forcing him to backtrack to catch a military flight out in the Northwest Territories, largest ever evacuation. Hundreds of people were airlifted to safety from remote villages overnight after Yellowknife, the largest city in the region, declared an emergency. On Tuesday evening, Northwest Territories authorities declared a state of emergency, citing a rapidly changing situation and shifting needs on the ground. We find ourselves in a crisis situation and our government is using every tool available to assist, said Shane Thompson, Territorial Environmental Minister. Earth is undergoing some major changes, with wildfires hitting many parts of the world while typhoons hitting other parts of the world. This is an unfortunate circumstance that is facing all of humanity, yet this is not something that is being discussed or talked about much. Most people are just talking about climate change. Therefore, we are just saying that we should remove all oil and we should just all use solar panels, without realizing that to create solar panels or wind turbines, you need oil. Let's hope that hopefully technology will be able to help elevate this problem in the long run. But for the time being, stay safe out there. Death toll after landslides in Indian Himalayas rises to 57, 10 still missing. New Delhi. Rescuers pulled out more bodies on Tuesday after landslides in India's Himalayas over the weekend buried homes and buildings, killing at least 57 people and leaving 10 still trapped or missing, officials said. Torrential rains, which along with unabated construction have frequently triggered deadly flash floods and landslides in the mountains of India and neighbouring Pakistan and Nepal. At least 55 people have died in the state due to the disaster, Birdwatch said. 2 people also died in neighbouring Uttarakhand state in rain-related incidents. Television footage showed hundreds gathered at rescue sites as emergency workers and excavating machines removed tree trunks and mud. Heavy rain is forecast to continue until Wednesday in parts of Himachal Pradesh and neighbouring Uttarakhand. Both states suffered widespread damage last month too due to incessant downpours and have recorded 45% and 18% above normal rainfall during this monsoon season. We have wildfires on one side, we have massive monsoons and rains on the other side. As opposed to living with Earth, we seem to be exploiting Earth for our own benefits, and Earth probably is fighting back. Let's see who wins this game in the long run. Why bond ratings downgrades are the last thing banks need right now. Banks have a lot to worry about right now: high interest rates, rising deposit rates, slumping profitability. Now there is one more thing to worry about: bond rating downgrades. Banks rely heavily on the sale of bonds to help fund their operations, and rating agencies are making it clear that those issuance could get more expensive due to a series of pressures, making life more difficult for financial institutions across the country. The first warning on bond ratings came last week when Moody's Investor Service downgraded 10 mid-sized institutions by a single notch, warned about a review of 6 additional lenders, and assigned a negative outlook to 11 others. For those who don't understand how this bond rating works, when a big agency like Fitch Rating downgrades a company's ratings, what happens is now this particular company will have to give higher interest rates for their bonds in order for investors to be interested in it. And the reason is most investors look at these ratings as a barometer to see if a company is actually stable and whether it is worth investing in. The lower your ratings, the higher the risk. The higher the risk, the more you have to pay for the bonds. Therefore, most people will look at these ratings as a gauge to see, okay, if this bank has a AAA rating, then it is a safe investment. But if your ratings is bad, that means your company or your institution has a higher risk. Therefore, you would have to give a higher interest rates to entice investors to invest in your bonds. And this is why these ratings are very important to these companies. Most bank stocks fell Tuesday. The KBW Nasdaq Bank Index fell 2.8%, while the KBW Nasdaq Regional Bank Index fell 3.4%. Among the country's biggest banks, Bank of America fell the most, 3.2%. M&T Bank was down 4.2%, Western Alliance fell 4%, and Comerica fell 4.5%. This spring, the failures of three sizable banks that were all within the range of 100 to 250 billion triggered outflows across the banking system and panic that other banks could also fall. Many mid-sized banks were able to lure depositors back in the second quarter by paying more of them. That increase, however, is eating into key measure of profitability. Looks like banks in America are starting to face the heat of the higher interest rates and the lack of proper management over the years of free money. Now, the chickens have come home to roost. Let's see how they handle the situation in the next couple of years. We'll see how a country like Zimbabwe seems to be handling this situation. Reserve Bank of Zimbabwe is set to launch a gold-backed digital token for retail use following successful investor interest. The Reserve Bank of Zimbabwe, RBZ, has announced its advanced plan to launch gold-backed digital token for retail purposes following its successful reception among investors, a success the bank hailed as commendable in a recent report. According to Manguida, now the GBDT shall be scaled up to be used for transactional purposes by the public. The bank is at an advanced stage in preparing for the eventual rolling out of GBDT for transactional purposes in phase 2 of the project under the codename ZIG, which stands for Zimbabwe Gold. The digital instrument will be the foundation for the country's central bank digital currency, as Zimbabwe Gold closely aligns with CBDC's characteristics. These tokenized digital coins aim to strengthen the national currency and offer an alternative investment, diverging from a common practice of pursuing US dollars on the parallel market. The token will serve as a medium of exchange for both individuals and businesses, playing a crucial role in stabilizing the Zimbabwean dollar and addressing the issue of inflation. The government and bank actions such as exchange rate liberalization, taking an external liabilities of the bank, and enforcing local currency payments for duties and taxes helped ease inflation. These measures appreciated the exchange rate, causing monthly inflation to drop from the June peak to negative 15.3% in July 2023. Similar annual inflation, which hit 175.8% in June 2023, significantly reversed to 101% in July 2023. The positive trend will persist as the effect of these measures take hold, further reducing the risk of adopting GBDT for local transactions. Countries are starting to wake up to this fact. At least the poorer countries with high inflation are starting to wake up to this fact, and they are starting to go back to our traditional roots of using gold as the base barometer for how we measure our economic output. And one of the simplest way to do that is to convert your currency into a gold-backed currency and not a currency backed by the US dollar, which is backed by debt. A currency that is backed by debt is bound to inflate to infinity. EU's first spot Bitcoin ETF goes live on Euronext Amsterdam Exchange. Termed the Jacobi FT Wilshire Bitcoin ETF, it will trade under the ticker Bitcoin, with flow traders acting as its market maker while Fidelity Digital Assets will provide custody. The fund charges its clients a 1.5% annual management fee, with authorized participants including Jane Street and DRW. The product has been touted as a game changer meant to drive adoption around Bitcoin among institutional investors and other key players. The launch of the product marks a significant leap from the continent's popular exchange-traded notes, whose distinction lies in the structure of ownership. While NTN investors own debt securities, ETF shareholders own a stake in the fund's underlying asset, in this case Bitcoin. It's exciting to see Europe moving ahead of the US in opening up Bitcoin investing for institutional investors who want safe, secure access to the benefits of digital assets using familiar and regulated structures like our ETF. Experts have projected a massive adoption around assets capable of springing up a new cycle characterized by fresh liquidity and high volumes should the US approve a spot BTC ETF. Thank you. I'll see you again tomorrow.